back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, I am here today to review two books. One was my most recent book club book, Sweetpea, and I mentioned this in I think a book haul or something recently. And the second one is one that is by one of the authors that I really like, and I got access to it on NetGalley and I was really excited, and then I didn't love it, which is a shame because I really wanted to. So let's talk about both of them. First up, let's talk about Sweetpea, which is an adventure, to be sure. It is a thriller, which is not my usual go-to, but it's a genre that tends to work well for book clubs. And this one is following a character called Rhiannon. Now, Rhiannon is she's an adult when we meet her, but we go back into her past at various points of the story to find out about her story. Her story is kind of being told almost in a diary format. She is kind of logging what she's been up to, who she hates that day, how her life is so mundane and boring, and how she really sees herself as quite superior to every other person in the room at all opportunities. She is murdering people, or has in the past murdered people, and when we start her story, she murders someone pretty quickly. So she is a killer, and we are reading about it from her point of view, being a killer. Now, you do learn that there are some reasons for her trauma in the past that might have kind of gone into making her a killer, but there's also family stuff and just generally psychotic tendencies, I suppose she has. Reading from her point of view is quite unnerving at times. It is a brutal book at times, for sure, but I quite enjoyed the sick, twisted mindset she has and kind of getting a glimpse into that. I think anything that is like dark and creepy and just kind of seems so crazy that you can't even imagine how someone could get there. Reading from that perspective that is so foreign and so alien, I always find that very intriguing. And although I don't want to like a character who is quite clearly a murderer many times over by the end of the book, I kind of did. I was kind of rooting for her at the end, even though she is very sick and very horrific to read about. You kind of are constantly on the edge of your seat, like, is she going to get caught? Because we as the reader know all these terrible things that she is doing, and by the end of the book, those terrible things have escalated beyond just murdering people. And I mean, how can it escalate beyond murdering people? But it does. Yeah, she's a psychopath and she's really horrible to read about, and yet I enjoyed reading it. I did audiobook this one and I think the audio was good. Personally, I don't know if I'm going to carry on with the series. I think I might, because it ends on a massive cliffhanger, and apparently there's, I think, 2 more in the series. So I'm pretty intrigued about where it's going to go. But I did find that annoying because I hate when it ends on a huge cliffhanger and the next book you have to get it to find out what's going to happen, because it's just frustrating. So I did give this a 3 stars. I liked it. I definitely was captivated whilst reading it. I wanted to find out what's going to happen next. Is it a story that I see being really memorable? No. Is it a character that I really liked? No, I definitely didn't like her, but I did find her fascinating and I did find her intriguing. And although I predicted some of the strings that the author went down and some of the tangents, I didn't predict all of them. And I liked that, because quite often with thrillers, I do predict a lot of the story and then it's just not fun when the big reveal happens. But the ending of this, although I saw some of it coming, I didn't see how it was going to play out, and I enjoyed that. It definitely takes some dark turns and I liked it a lot. So yeah, mixed bag. Definitely enjoyable, definitely a bit sick. If you like thrillers, you'll probably enjoy this one, and I'm quite looking forward to discussing it with my book club, because I think it's going to be an interesting one to divide people's opinions. I definitely don't think everyone's going to like it, and I definitely don't think everyone's going to hate it. So I'm excited to give it a go in a group setting and just kind of see what everyone thought about it. The second one that I want to talk about is The Dragons of Deepwood Fen by Bradley Beaulieu. Now, I really enjoyed Bradley's work. I very much liked his 12 Kings series, and I have read other things by him and enjoyed them as well. But this one I didn't love very much. It was very middle of the road, and I mean, I liked Sweetpea, This one I liked in bits and bobs, but not enough to call it like an overall like. In the end, it was just so middle of the road that I ended up giving it like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. There are bits I liked, and then there are bits that I just found so tedious to get through. This book is just under 500 pages, so it's not the biggest book out there, but equally it's not short. And it does feel, to me at least, like quite a slog. I personally was a bit disappointed reading this one because it's got lots and lots of POV, it's got an expansive world, it's got dragons, it's got magic, it's got the church kind of doing things with religion, it's got secret sects and people who live in the woods and the wilds, it's got dragon riders, it's got a lot of things that I thought I would really like, and then I kind of just didn't. I think the end of the book was my favourite bit, which sounds bad, but I think the last 10-15% of the book is really where the action takes place. And I just found myself completely hooked in that section. And yet it had been such a marathon to get to that section. Like, I just wasn't that interested in picking up the book up until that point. And so it really dragged on for me. And I just didn't feel the urge to read it, you know? I didn't feel the urge to find out what happened next. And I don't think that's a good sign for books. We are following quite a lot of POV characters, and actually in the first, I think, like 8 chapters, you get like 7 POVs. So there's loads and loads of characters, and you're instantly kind of thrown into the action, and you just have to get on board with them. Now, the world building is pretty slow, and so that is done, I think, fairly well, but I didn't feel like there was enough characterization to make each character feel distinct for a long time. Like, it took a while to really get to understand who's who and how they fit into the narrative. And some things you get told straight away, and then other things you kind of have to uncover as you're reading the book. So it felt like it had a few like stops and starts in the early pages. Now, there are 2 characters who I would say arguably are probably the main characters. Lorelei, who is investigating this plot that seems to be coming to fruition with the church and the Red Knives, 2 different sects of people, both seemingly potentially have it in for the Empire at large, and so she is looking into a potential plot that she's kind of been tipped off about and just trying to investigate what's going on there, what's really happening. Alongside that, we also have Rylan, who is the son, although not really a revered son, of a nobleman, and yet he also has ties to the group that live in the Deepwood Fens, and he kind of wants to embrace his past, and his past is not necessarily very good at coming into the light, so he ends up doing sort of missions on the sly. He also has a big secret about his dragon bond, and he generally, you know, he's quite an interesting character because he's kind of a disowned almost character, and yet he's trying to play both sides. He's trying to help the people who have been left behind by the Empire and kind of forgotten about or overlooked purposely, and then also kind of be in his father's good books and kind of embrace that side of him as well by helping with dragons generally. He's very good with dragons and the care of them. I liked both of those characters, but almost every other character was quite forgettable, and I only finished this book like 2 days ago when I'm filming this, and yet it still doesn't feel that memorable, which is not great, considering how long it is. I think part of the problem is actually that the blurb for the book kind of tells you almost everything that happens in the book, which I did find a bit weird because a lot of what the blurb mentions actually doesn't happen for a long period of the story, and most of it up until that point is really setting the scene and kind of identifying who's who and what's what in the world. And the prologue to the book was really exciting. So I kind of went into this knowing a bit about the blurb and seeing the prologue and being like, wow, this is going to be like hitting the ground running, really exciting. And then it just slowed down into such a slow build that for me it was too slow. And I don't often say that because I do like a slow read every now and then. But for me, this one was too slow. I just didn't find it fun. I do think the ending of this book was fun. The ending was really exciting. If a fair chunk had been cut down and the ending was a little bit sooner, and there had been more action generally, I think this would have been a really, really strong read. But for me, it didn't have that wow factor for a long time. And although the characters and the world are fleshed out and the writing is good, the pacing was what really let this down for me, and I just couldn't get excited about it or really care enough about it. So for me, it was 2.5 out of 5, very middle of the road. As I say, I think it was okay. If you go and buy like the Goodreads ratings of okay is 2 stars, that's what I gave it essentially. It was okay. I wanted to love it. And I don't even think I had like high expectations, but I guess I have read this author before and really enjoyed his stuff. So there were expectations, but I didn't think they were set super high or unrealistically high. Let me know. It comes out in December. I'd be super interested to hear what you guys think of it when you get to it. Please do let me know your thoughts. Are you still going to pick it up? It has got some really good reviews from people. Robin Hobb gave it 5 stars. So, you know, there are people out there who absolutely loved it. It just wasn't me, alas. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you've got it on NetGalley and you've read it, let me know. Or if you are waiting till it comes out and you're excited about it, please do let me know what you think of it when you read it. I'd love to hear. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.